I recently moved into a new home, as you probably know by now, and that means that I had to set up an entirely new kitchen. Now, every kitchen comes with pros and cons, unless of course you have a $500,000 budget and you're building your dream kitchen. You've got to deal with what you've been given. And I had a pretty decent space to start with, but I still had to come up with good organization strategies so that I can make this kitchen work for me and my 7-year-old daughter. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through how specifically I organized my kitchen, what's under the hood or inside the cupboards and drawers in this case, kind of how I organize some of those more awkward spaces, more difficult spaces, and awkward and difficult items. And my goal is to show you how to optimize your kitchen space, whether you're moving into a new home or planning to reorganize your kitchen, either in a small part or a large part. I just want you to feel motivated and inspired. Now, a little bit of advice before you get started is to get a tape measure and take notes on the measurements of each of the cupboards and drawers that you are planning to reorganize, because the height, the depth, the width is going to make all the difference in terms of what organizing tools and strategies you use. The other thing to know is that what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for you or work for your next door neighbor. Everybody is different. And I'll also say this, the things that I thought were too extra for me have actually ended up being the most helpful. So just keep an open mind. And just a quick reminder, if you haven't done so already, to subscribe to the Clean My Space channel and give this video a thumbs up if you're excited to see some organizing content. Let's start off with the junk drawer. Now, everyone calls it the junk drawer, which is why I'm calling it the junk drawer, but I have renamed mine the utility drawer, because as you'll see when I open it up, it's only got useful things in there. If it's junk, it goes in the garbage. If it's useful to me in some way, shape, or form, it goes in the utility drawer. Now, this is an example of one of those things that I thought was extra, but has actually made a big difference. I got these little containers, these little rectangular and square containers that I have used to space out and organize my utility drawer. And what this does is it gives everything a place. Anything in there has a home. In fact, I have some open slots for some new things that might make their way into the utility drawer as time goes on. But what I love about this is that there's nothing in there that I don't need, and there's nothing in there that doesn't belong. If you want to organize your junk drawer, the first thing I recommend is to remove absolutely everything from there. Clean out the drawer, get these containers, and then decide what it is that you need and place the containers back according to the layout that makes sense for your drawer and for what you need, hence the utility drawer. So in this house, I have a deep drawer that I'm able to use for pots and pans. Now, not all of my pots fit into this drawer, so I have a cupboard that I have designated for my heavier stuff, my cast iron stuff. If I didn't have this, I would get a pots and pans organizer, because I must tell you, pots and pans, much like containers, which I'll be covering shortly, can get completely out of control. Lids don't have pots, pots don't have lids, lids fly out everywhere, we don't know how to stack things, it gets out of control. This little organizational device solves everything, and it's adjustable. On the topic of containers, can we just all agree that organizing containers as a kitchen is like the final boss organization job? It's like after you've gotten to the last level in the video game, organizing the container drawer is like the final boss job that you need to do. That container drawer or cupboard just gets so out of control. Lids, containers fly out. You put one in there, you shove that door closed. You don't know what's gonna happen the next time you open it. It gets crazy in there. So we need a good system. And I find because containers are different shapes and sizes and brands and materials, it can get really complicated really quickly. You can stack them, you can organize them, you can figure out what works for you. If you have a lot of plastic container lids, which if you have any containers, you will, there are lid organization devices that you can get, which again, sounds extra, sounds bougie, but at the end of the day, if you're struggling with keeping this organized, these keep your lids organized and streamlined, and that space that used to be chaotic is no longer chaotic. So have a look at it and see if it makes sense for you. I haven't had a knife block on my counter in many years. I find them to be a bit of an eyesore, and they also take up valuable space. And when you look at a kitchen these days, it's sort of out of fashion to have a knife block on the kitchen counter. So I had quite a large, let's call it utensil drawer to the right of my stove. And what I did was I found a bamboo drawer insert knife block, and it solves a big problem. You want to make sure that your knives can be organized and safely laid out and the blade's protected, and you want to do it in a way that doesn't take up a ton of space. What's cool about these is they slide right into your drawer, and if you are someone that has steak knives, like a set of 4 or 8 steak knives, you can get 2 of these or you can get a larger one. But I like this one because it's got space for both large knives like chef's knives and then smaller knives like paring knives. Organizing your utensils can be another big challenge, and there are tons of ways that you can do this. Just look online and look up kitchen utensil organizer and you'll see everything from countertop jars to, special drawer inserts and everything in between. Now, like I said, I have quite a large drawer for my utensils, and I didn't just want to have everything lying around sort of free flowing in there, because again, I can't handle that kind of chaos. I will let it get out of control very quickly and I won't do anything about it. So I needed to pre-manage that situation. And the way that I did that was I got these tension drawer dividers. These ones are bamboo, so they kind of matchy-matchy with the knife block that's already in there. And what I like about these is I can move them around to wherever makes sense. So where all of my tongs are might need a bit more of a narrow space, whereas where some of the larger stuff, like where the spatulas are or the lemon squeezer, needs a little bit more space, I can customize exactly how much width I want each section to take up. And this has been a really great solution. It's low tech and it is so easy to implement. Next up, I've got this bamboo cutlery drawer organizer. The reason I like this is because it is expandable. So depending on the size of the drawer that you have, it can either crunch up to the smallest size or you can widen it out to something that's really large. And it gives you an absolute maximization of that drawer space. Now, the reason I like bamboo over plastic is because it's a little bit more elevated. It's also very easy to clean and it's very durable. I also learned a little trick from my mom, okay? I used to have my cutlery tray oriented in such a way where the spoons were at the top. So if I wanted to get to them, I have to pull the drawer all the way out and reach my hand far in there. My mom just said, why don't you reorient it and have the spoons at the front? It was such a simple fix, but it solved a problem that I had and I never really thought about fixing. So if you have one of these cutlery trays, consider reorienting them and having these 2 horizontal sections facing you. Thanks, Mom. In my old house, we had a pantry that had very tall and deep storage sections. So you couldn't exactly use all of it functionally because you would just forget about all the stuff in the back, and then the next thing you know, you have a can of creamed corn from 2019, and you're like, where did that come from? And you just see money sitting there collecting dust. And no matter how conscious or conscientious you think you are about the stuff that you have parked in your pantry, it's easy to forget. So I really like these pantry pull-out bins. And what's cool about these is they're tall, they're deep, and they have little wheels so you can easily roll them out and push them back in. Now I've also used these in some pantry pull-out drawers that I have to help me better organize things like pasta and olive oil, different oils, vinegars. I've just found this to be particularly useful. I also use it to organize some snacks that I have for Riley. What I like about these is they come in so many different shapes and sizes. You can find ways to make them make sense in your pantry. And on that note, something else that you might want to look at are these stacking pantry bins. What's cool about these is, of course, they can stack one on top of the other depending on the height of the pantry that you have, and they come with little drawers. Now, the reason I think this is great is because when you have something, a pantry item, packaged snacks, spices, cans of fish, or something along those lines, packages can be awkwardly shaped or different shapes, and they don't always stack up neatly. Whereas if you have these uniform shaped boxes and bins where you can dump items in and then pull out the drawers, you have this very organized, streamlined space, and it all of a sudden becomes much easier to use and access what's in the pantry, and you can also get a quick visual on what you need more of. Another staple for pantry organization are airtight locking lid storage containers. The reason I like these ones are Rubbermaid brilliance, is because they give glass, but they're actually plastic, BPA free, safe, all of the things. I hand wash these when I get them. I'll hand wash them once I run out of product. But what I like about them is they have a really durable and thick seal, and the lid clicks down. So your food is airtight, it's stored effectively, and you can see exactly what's in there. Plus, they're all the same base shape, so they're very easy to stack, regardless of the size that you use, unless of course you have those little mini ones, but then you can sort of double layer them. I really like these specifically in the baking area of my pantry. I've just decanted all of the stuff like sugar and flour, all the stuff that basically explodes out of a package and makes a mess, I've put in here. I'm not doing this to everything, but I do think for baking supplies specifically, this has made a huge difference. Lazy Susans are not lazy, they are hard working. But let me tell you, it took me a minute to get comfortable with the idea of giving up space to use a Lazy Susan. I mean, if you think about it, you put one in and you're losing like a square size of space because of the entire radius of Susan herself. But what you gain is the ability to spin it around and see anything that you need at any given time. So I didn't have a spice drawer, let's say, and I didn't want to put my spices in a cupboard just as is because I would never be able to find the stuff at the back. So instead, I measured out the maximum depth I had in a cupboard. I got a Lazy Susan to meet that. I ended up using 3 of them, and that's what I used to organize my spices. At first, I was annoyed because I look at my cupboard and I'm like, ugh, so much space is taken up. But I have to say, since living in this house and cooking and using the kitchen, the Lazy Susan, like the 3 Lazy Susans that I have for my spices, have been fantastic. So if you're struggling to organize a space in your kitchen where you're constantly forgetting about things in the back, take a risk. Give Susan a try. Now, some other essentials that I have in my kitchen that I think have made a difference, either in making this a more functional space or a more, let's call it, luxurious space, I'm gonna share those with you right now. First up, a vacuum robot and mop. Well, I think you know me well enough to know that I don't like cleaning. I'm lazy by nature. So if a robot can do even one thing for me, I am happy to give that robot a try. So I have been using a robot vacuum and mop in the house. I've been testing it out, and I've actually been pretty happy with it. We are still spending time getting to know one another, and this isn't taking away from the fact that I have to do regular vacuuming and regular mopping when I need a more heavy duty job done. But for the day-to-day maintenance, like my daughter and her friend were here yesterday, they ate popcorn, they were making a mess, and then I just sent the robot off to do its work. It makes a difference. So that is definitely a nice little step up in the world. Next up, soft close hinges for your cupboard doors and your drawers. I have not always had these in my kitchen, and what's funny is half the kitchen has soft close hinges and half does not. Riddle me that. I don't get it. But anyway, half the time I'm opening cupboards and slamming them because I forget which ones have it and which ones don't, and it's like, whoa, jump scare. And then the other time I try to go gentle, but it's already a nice, soft, gentle close. So at some point, I'm gonna finish updating all of the hinges in here so that they're soft close and they don't give me a minor panic attack anytime I try to do any work in the kitchen. I hate to admit how much I like my label maker because I never thought that I would be the label maker type, but I really like my label maker. So in the kitchen, I have used it to label out different sort of pantry areas so that not only I know where things go, so that Riley, my daughter, knows where things go, and so that any friends or family who come and look for something in the kitchen know where to find things. And I have found that it helps, because I have a deliberate spot for everything. So again, as much as I don't want to admit that it works, it does. I also want to shout out the runner in this kitchen. I chose this really nice kind of red, orange with hints of blue and green Oriental style runner. I really like it. And what I did was I just measured the length of the workspace in the kitchen, and that is how I chose which type of runner to order. The nice thing about a runner is it can bring color into your kitchen without you necessarily having to spend a ton of money. It also serves a really great function. Like if you're working at the sink or unloading the dishwasher, it kind of absorbs that moisture, you know, so you're not like slipping and sliding on the kitchen floor. Gives you a little bit of comfort when you're doing any work in the kitchen. And the one that I got is machine washable. So if at any time it gets disgusting, and trust me, that time comes, you can just throw it in the washing machine. All right, you have lots of different ways that you can tackle organizing your kitchen, and I hope by me showing you how I've done it in my new space, it's given you some ideas for what you can do at home. And that brings me to this week's comment question, which is, what is the oldest thing that you have found in your kitchen when you have been tidying it out? Is it grandma's old container of nutmeg from 1987 that you found in your spice drawer? Is it an old, bag of chips that expired 16 years ago? Let me know in the comments down below. One of the cool things that happened when I moved into this house is that I was able to, again, cull all of the stuff that I brought over. So the pantry items, I was very deliberate about, and I really try to keep minimal stuff on hand because I just hear my mom, don't waste food on my shoulder. So I hate wasting food. And yeah, I just don't want to deal with that, negative tape that I have running in my head. But let me know in the comments down below. If you want to constantly stay in the loop with what we are doing here at Clean My Space, of course, you can follow us on Instagram, you can follow me on Instagram, and you can subscribe to our newsletter, which is called The Dirty Dish. And we've got a link for that down below. So now that you know how to organize your kitchen, you might be wondering how to clean your kitchen. And this is a video I did all about cleaning your way to a stress-free kitchen, something we could all use. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you subscribe to the Clean My Space channel. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.